All right, in this video, we're going to be doing the Module 7 study guide because your test is tomorrow. So let's look at number 1. It says, which expression is equivalent to? And so we're looking for all of the equivalent expressions. Well, basically, this is from your notes, I believe for 7.4. So if you need to reference or review your notes, those were your 7.4 notes. Okay. So what we're doing is we're taking this rational exponent and rewriting it as a radical. So this number in our denominator, that's going to be our index or our root. And this number here in our numerator is our exponent. So when I go to rewrite this, I'm going to have my radical sign. I'm going to have my 9 underneath. Okay. My index is 4. So that's my index. I place it outside the radical. It's a smaller number. It's not a coefficient, so it's a small number right above or near the radical sign, the radical symbol. And then I have my exponent of 3. Okay, so if I'm looking here at my answer choices, I can clearly see that that matches letter D. Okay. Next, we have evaluate the expression 27 to the 2/3. So again, we have a problem from 7.4 notes and practice. And here we can think about this 2 ways. We can either rewrite this as a radical and then simplify it, remembering that this here is our index and this here is our exponent. So what that would look like is 27, okay, the cube root of 27 all squared. Okay, so I'm going to look for a cube root of 27. Well, if you don't remember your cube roots, we can use our factor trees. So 27 is 3 and 9. 9 is 3 and 3. So I could rewrite the cube root of 27 as 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, because I have 1, 2, 3 3s, and I have 3s under my radical. My index is 3, so I need to have 3 numbers, a group of 3, and it's going to become 3. So the cube root of 27 is 3, but we can't forget that we have this squared. So if we do 3 squared, well, that's equal to 9. Okay? Or you could type this all into a calculator. If you know how to do that, you would do 27 squared. 27, you would use your y to the x button that's on your calculator that we use at school. Then you would do your A, B, C button to put in a fraction. And then you would hit equals. So just something to keep in mind. If you can't, or if you're worried about breaking it down, you could always use a calculator and that would become a calculator problem. All right. Question number 3 is very similar to a question that we did on our do now within the past 2 weeks. So we need to select all the expressions equivalent to 36 x to the 4th y to the 8th. So this is actually from our 7.1 notes with exponents. So we're going to multiply 6 times 6 and get 36. And then you'll notice that we have x to the 4th and y to the 8th. Well, there's nothing we can do with those because we can't combine those because they have different bases. So once we simplify a, we get 36 x to the 4th y to the 8th. Well, that matches what the expression they've provided us. Now, if we're looking at b, we have a 6, but where they're trying to trick you is that this exponent of 2 is only being applied to the x. It's not applied to the 6. So if I simplified this, it would be 6x to the 4th, y to the 8th, which does not match. So I'm just going to put a line through it or eliminate that as an answer choice. Now option C, I do have a 6, but now I have the exponent of 2, and it means that I have to have 6 squared and x squared, and 6 squared is 36. And then we're going to worry about multiplying by this other x here, okay? So multiplied by x, that's going to become, oh, sorry, ignore that. Let me go ahead and distribute this exponent here. So this is going to be multiplied by x squared because I distributed the x, and then y to the 8th power because I distributed the power to the y. So now I have x to the 4th, y to the 8th. So this is another correct answer choice. Now the difference between C and D, okay, if we notice here, our first set of parentheses is the same, but this exponent of 3 is different, and that's going to make that parentheses x to the power of 3 and y to the power of 12, which does not match our 36 x to the 4th, y to the 8th. So we can eliminate that option. All right, now we're looking at E and F, okay? So E, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our coefficients and do 2 times 3 times 6. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Then we're going to have x squared times x squared, which is equal to x to the 4th, because we add those exponents. And then we have y to the 4th times y squared, and that's going to be y to the 6th. Well, our 36 matches, our x to the 4th matches, but our y to the 6th does not. So that's not our correct answer. So now we're going to look at option F, which again, you'll notice we have 2 times 3 times 6. So that's still going to be 36. X squared times x squared, that's still going to be x to the 4th. The difference now being we have y to the 4th times y to the 4th, and when we do y to the 4th times y to the 4th, that's going to be equal to y to the 8th. Okay, so y to the 8th, that does match our original expression. So that is our third correct answer. Make sure when you're doing this on the test that you expand or simplify all of your answer choices to ensure that you have the correct amount. All right. In question 4, we need to find 3x squared, y cubed, all to the power of 3. So we have to distribute this exponent of 3 to every term. So we're going to have 3 to the power of 3, x squared to the power of 3, y cubed to the power of 3. Now 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3, which is going to be 27. X squared to the power of 3, that's our power to our power rule. So that's x to the power of 2 times 3, which is x to the power of 6. And y to the power of 3 to the power of 3, and again, our power to our power rule is y to the power of 9. So we're looking for 27, x to the power of 6, y to the power of 9. All right, moving on to question 5 and 6. We're going to break this down piece by piece. So we have 2 over 6. Well, 2 over 6 simplifies to 1 over 3. Keep in mind that this will stay a fraction. That 3 is going to stay in my denominator. X to the negative 3 power over x squared. Well, our negative exponent rule says that if we have a negative exponent, we need to that change it to its reciprocal. So that's going to become x to the power of 3. And when we multiply x squared times x to the power of 3, that's going to become x to the power of 5 because we are adding these two exponents. And again, that's going to stay in our denominator. Then we have y to the power of 4 over y. Well, according to our quotient rule, that's equal to y to the power of 4 minus 1, because that implied exponent here is 1. So that's going to be y to the power of 3, but that's going to stay in our numerator. So y to the power of 3 over 1. And once we simplify that, you'll see that we have y to the power of 3 in our numerator, 3x to the power of 5 in our denominator. All right, one more question for this video. So we have 5/4. Well, if we separate that 5/4, there's nothing we can do with that. That's going to stay 5/4. So our coefficients cannot be changed. Then we have x to the power of 5 over x squared. Okay. According to our quotient rule, we're going to do x to the power of 5 minus 2, which is x to the power of 3. So 5 over 4 multiplied by x to the power of 3. I'm going to place it over 1 just so I can keep track of what's in the numerator and what's in the denominator. Then I have y to the power of 3 over y to the power of 6. Well, that's y to the power of 3 minus 6. So that's going to give me y to the negative 3. And again, when I have a negative exponent, that has to be written as its reciprocal to make that exponent positive. So I have 1 over y to the power of 3. And then z to the 0 is just equal to 1. So I don't have to do anything with that. It essentially cancels out or becomes 1. So if I'm looking here, I'm looking across my numerators and I have 5x to the power of 3 over 4y to the power of 3. And there's nothing I can do further to simplify that. All right, that's going to be it for this video. I'll do 7 through 10 in the next video.